Good morning, and welcome everyone. It's September, it's raining. This time it's not as sunny as last year, but there is something very, very special in the air, and this typically means that it's excite time. This year is very, very special for us because, as Sophie and Guido already said, it's our 10 years anniversary. And I could not be more excited about this anniversary. This last decade was such a ride, full of amazing memories, one-of-a-kind experiences for all of us, and very valuable learnings. We did not only accomplish so much more than that we ever thought we will accomplish, but we also had a lot of fun along the way. And I don't know, is this gentleman who is actually riding our antelope, is this gentleman here in the room? No? Hard to see? Okay, we wanted to give out some shoes, some Spryker shoes to this gentleman, so maybe we will have to catch up. So all of this would not have been possible without, of course, our customers, partners, Sprykers, and friends. So a big, big thank you to all of you for being with us on that 10-year journey. Thank you very much. So as we look back at the last decade, it also made us think about what the next 10 years will look like. We are very ready for it. We spend a lot of time thinking about it. And today we are going to talk about something which probably describes at least the last 4 years, last 3-4 years of this last decade the best. And this is volatility. So I want to spend some time this morning talking about how to turn volatility into value. And maybe let's start with the definition of what volatility actually is. Typically, volatility is defined as some frequent, unpredictable change, which unfortunately often disrupts the business. It can come in different forms and shapes. It can come in the form of price swings or increases in cost of capital that make our work harder. And it's often a measure of risk and uncertainty. On the other hand, however, there is value, something we all seek. It's typically helping us to measure an advantage or a benefit, and ideally, the value that we receive is a clear differentiator to our business. Today's world feels very, very volatile, unfortunately, and maybe in a way even fragile. But volatility as such is not new. It's not a phenomenon that we just have started seeing in the last 3-4 years. It has been around in digital commerce basically forever. And very often, volatility can also be a driver for growth and innovation. Without volatility, many of the things that we all went through together would not have happened. So let's take a quick look into the history. One good example is that 15 years ago, out of a sudden, there was mobile commerce popping up. And we all had to create and had to start working on responsive design as a technology tool to help us master this. A whole generation of front-end developers, desktop front-end developers, SEO experts, out of a sudden had to relearn their jobs. Some 10 years ago, out of a sudden, we saw the rise of omnichannel commerce, and it was on everyone's mind. In order to be ready and become ready for omnichannel commerce, again, we had to find a technology response for that. And this was mostly around building APIs and becoming API-first companies and building headless capabilities. Then 7-8 years ago, companies started to transition more and more of their capabilities from on-prem software into cloud. So cloud computing, together with software as a service, SaaS applications, was the denominator. The invention of microservices, packaged business capabilities, so a new type of architecture which allowed to enable this type of business models was on the rise. Then, in 2020, the world was turned upside down by COVID, and many businesses, in order to stay alive, had to turn towards unified commerce. People tried to bring their stock and the physical business to online. We saw the rise of click and collect and curbside pickup business models everywhere around the world. So unified commerce and the underlying composable commerce principles were important. Then, unfortunately, in 2022, the world became an even messier place with geopolitical crises and economical turbulences. People started to search for the next big thing around how to increase efficiency. And we spoke about this in length last year here at in the same cinema. And still people believe that the next wave of innovation which will help to drive efficiency will be around artificial intelligence and machine learning. And finally, here we are today. We see a new form of macro volatility with all these things that Guido mentioned, from labor shortages, inflation, wars, supply chain being around. And the question is, what will be the answer this time? Will it be actually a technology answer to this question? And we believe the answer will be around business and business agility. It will be around how to turn volatility into value, how to make it useful for yourself, and how to generate the best possible ROI. Despite this volatility, and again, volatility often is perceived like very negatively, but despite this volatility, especially for all of us in digital commerce, we have seen e-commerce still growing as a percentage of total retail share. So it was not everything bad. E-commerce was also saving many businesses from COVID. And we saw significant leaps in terms of revenues, especially after 2020 for many B2C businesses. Every year new technologies pop up, and these technologies enable and make digital commerce more accessible and more widely spread than ever before. And of course, we all use Amazon. These guys pioneered same-day delivery, two-day delivery. So a lot of stuff and a lot of innovation happened. We actually saw, if you put this on a chart, then we saw in the last 15 years growth almost across all digital commerce categories. So it's very hard to find a category which was not growing. So innovation actually is being accelerated by volatility in the markets. But there is also a clear correlation between a very extended period of low interest rates or almost zero interest rates and zero inflation, which helped to power this growth curve. Unfortunately, this has now come to an end, and again, all of us, we have to reinvent the world. So today, we have to deal with volatility at an unprecedented pace, something we have never seen before. And many of us, to be quite honest, in the last 15, 20 years throughout our careers have never experienced such a negative form of volatility. From supply chain issues, labor shortages, impact of Gen AI, and of course, oversupply from China. So let me ask you one question. Whose job got easier this year versus last year? Okay. Oh, okay. This gentleman's job got easier? Fantastic. So we'll have to put him into the practitioner stage and let him share the experience. All our jobs have gotten harder. And it's not just theoretical examples, it's real-world cases we read about every day. Because volatility actually comes in different shapes and forms. In form of, on one hand, competitive pressure, but also with upsides for well-executed D2C strategies. Or through labor shortages in certain industries, and on the other hand, shifts of labor and people, creating new jobs, creating new job profiles, new roles in other industries. Many of you, and this was confirmed yesterday over dinner, are facing supply chain issues or rising logistics costs. So it's not necessarily about how good you sell or whether your customers want to buy. It's really about, do you have products, right? Can you restock? Can you replenish? This holds many businesses back nowadays. But we also see a lot of innovation happening. And nowadays, especially in Germany, the automotive industry is in the news almost every day with bad news. However, there is also innovation happening around customer ecosystems, and we will have some great cases we'll talk about later today, or innovation around shopping experience. So, how is volatility impacting you specifically? From all the daily conversations we are having, we do hear 4 patterns. One is less budget. It's very rare we meet someone who says, hey, I have more budget to spend this year versus last year. So most of us have to operate with less budgets. We all have to operate with less IT support. Especially corporate IT teams are very busy with creating efficiencies, getting rid of old ERPs or doing some ERP consolidation projects just to unlock and reduce costs. So less support for everything we want to do in the front end is a very common theme we hear every day. Less headcount, right? From the conversations we are having, what we do here is, hey, I either did not get approved the roles that I planned for this year, or I even had to lay people off and let good team members go. So less headcount available to execute on whatever strategy you currently have. And of course, cost reduction instead of growth. This is a very important theme, and we'll talk about this later today. Mentally, digital commerce is and was always falling into this growth bucket for people. So when people are thinking about e-commerce, it's always about growth. Growing revenues, growing channels, putting your brands online, new geographies, new customer groups. But at the moment, corporate strategies are very focused on cost reduction and efficiencies and not on growth. So throughout today, we are focused on how we can help you make your jobs easier in 2024 and beyond. So let's have a look in what it specifically means for digital commerce and how to approach things ideally going forward. Number one, e-commerce either is a strategic project or it's not being invested in at the moment. This is something we hear a lot. In the last 3-4 years, when money was free, every project, MVPs, POCs, speedboats, every great idea was funded. There was unlimited supply of capital, so companies were very open to experiment and put money into bets. At the moment, there is no time for bets. There is no budget for bets. People try to reduce cost and become more efficient. So either your e-commerce project or your digital commerce initiative is a clear strategic priority for your company, or very likely it will not be executed on in the next 12 to 18 months. Again, cost savings versus growth. You have to ask yourself very clearly, is there a use case that can really help your company save money in the next 12 to 18 months? It's very unlikely that you go to your boss and that you ask for funding for potentially in 12 months or in 18 months growing your revenues by 5% or 7%. It's much more likely to get funded if you can reduce the cost of sale or find other ways to increase efficiency. So it's about how we think about it and how we position these cases. For many years, companies were focused very much on the TCO. We all know it, right? Companies were trying to buy software together with services and other implementation products. And we're trying to do a 3 or 5 year TCO calculation. What will it me eventually cost over the next 5 years? And how does my actual business case looks like against this investment? And there is nothing bad about this approach. However, now the time has shortened significantly. People are looking for ROIs within the next couple of months. So time to first transaction, not time to go live, but time to first transaction has become the ultimate metric. It's a metric we at Spryker focused on a lot. It's a metric we use to steer our product roadmap going forward and to ask ourselves, how can we reduce the time to first transaction for all of you? And there are also new proxies for the right fit. It's not necessarily about features and functions and who has the best, and biggest amount of checkboxes in an RFP. It's really about who can actually help to drive you value. Who does understand your industry? Who can provide you with playbooks and best practices? Who can help select the right use case, which is very often not the one that you maybe are planning, but the one that can really be live in a couple of weeks or months. The one where you can prove ROI, go back and get further funding for the next phase of growth. So this is one of these moments in your career you will look back in 2 ways. Either smile because you saw the potential and you acted on it, or wince because you hesitated and waited. Today we are going to feature customers who have done amazing things with their platforms and with their partners. And most importantly, we want to talk about how we can help make you ready for anything. That's why today's agenda is packed with best practices about how to navigate volatility and unlock value. Every session is showcasing the potential and value, not just the features that you would get. Our customers and best partners are offering masterclasses with very honest and transparent insights. Some practitioner-oriented sessions sharing KPIs, some secret approaches, and their winning formulas. So make sure to check out as many of these sessions as you can, connect with the speakers, engage with the Spryker team and partners about how to unlock your potential. Speaking about unlocking potential, reimagine the impossible. In typical projects, naturally, you have to do investments and you have to put cost in before you start seeing revenues and start seeing impact from that. Now imagine this new thing pops up and you've got this as a platform. Imagine the impact if you could make this change in 6 or 8 weeks. How much more revenue would this help you to unlock? How big would be the benefit from you being in the market faster and starting to see value from your implementation? Guess what? It's possible, and it has been done. Remember, you are in the driver's seat. If you don't know what the terrain looks like in front of you, how do you want to set yourself apart? What if the road changes? What if the strategy that you have invested 6, 12 months developing, consulting with a partner, is already outdated by the day you start working on it? What if you have to make a pit stop and make adjustments? Maybe it's bigger wheels or higher suspension. In the past, there was a good recipe for that: playbooks. We all had e-commerce playbooks in the last 15 years. How to do this, how to do that, how to grow a revenue channel, how to put a new brand online, direct-to-consumer strategies, wholesale strategies, B2B strategies. But playbooks do not longer work. This environment we are in at the moment is so volatile. Things change within weeks or months. So we need to create new playbooks, and we need to create them over and over again, faster than ever before. So creating these playbooks is great, but it takes time. So this means that you have to move the line forward. Otherwise, you will not be able to execute and will fall behind. Yeah, I don't know where they have the picture of my car from, but this is how it looks like. Now imagine you had a way to move faster and shorten the time it took you from decision to actual action, from launch to first transaction or to first order. That time, winning the race against the clock and against your competitors, that is worth millions of dollars. When you can go ahead of your competition, that lengthens your product life cycle and helps you to capture more value, this has enormous potential, enormous value. When you are early, right? When you are early and when you are able to execute, you can capture more value. Value like higher efficiency, more sales. You can simplify your IT or unlock new revenue streams. So value is very different. There is no one definition. And sometimes businesses need to be about growth, which we have seen in the last 10, 15 years. And sometimes, as nowadays, it's primarily around and about efficiency. So it's a constant loop. It's always changing. Capturing value means being prepared no matter what comes. In our everyday work, pretty much people are still focused around growth use cases over efficiency and cost reduction use cases. And again, commerce has fallen into the growth bucket mentally for people. So one best practice that you can apply is actually going back and rethinking the use cases you're working on in context of efficiency and cost reductions. We have put together 9 distinct use cases you can see here as examples to provide you hints around what you can actually do and how you can position your commerce initiative internally. And you also see, of course, you see the accelerated growth examples such as digital sales rooms, right, or expanding into marketplaces. But there are also great use cases for increasing customer loyalty and drive efficiency. Another theme we hear constantly is the need for a clear correlation between KPIs and business objectives and the use case. So pitching a use case internally and saying, I want to do B2B commerce, I want to do digital sales room, or I want to build a sales portal for reps, and it will be great, it will be composable, it will be headless, is no longer enough. So you clearly need to connect the dots between the use case that you want to execute on and the business metric, a clear, measurable, tangible business metric. And this is very, very important, and you see some of the metrics here, because ultimately your boss will ask you, you will ask us, and we better have an answer. These uses can help you today and tomorrow. They can help you to stay within your budget, and they can help you still move forward your digital commerce initiative. These use cases are greatly supported, of course, by Spryker, but more importantly by our partners. They come with pre-packaged and pre-built integrations, but also supported by our SI community. Now, you hear me talking a lot about efficiency and costs. So if you want to learn more today about how to navigate the future of commerce, my co-founder and CEO Alex is hosting a session later today. It will be a great fireside chat with industry experts and partners. So make sure to attend his session and learn more about how to navigate the future. Speaking about partners and ecosystem, there are many perspectives about technology, and we spoke about composability, about headless, about APIs. But it's not just the technology that will help us to navigate these challenging times. It's also about applying some pattern recognition here. And our partner ecosystem and Spryker, we try to condense everything that we learn and that we see across all the use cases. And it was very inspiring to hear yesterday, after the Hurt event that we had, that customers from completely different industries were talking to each other and discovering that the challenges that they have and potentially even the solutions are exactly the same. So what we try to do is we try to go beyond technology. We try to help you with actually building your business case, right? And equipping you with everything that you need to pitch it internally. We also try to support you with calculating these business cases, because truth is, many of us in the last 15 years never had to do it. People never had to fight for budget. Budget was always available. Of course, you had to justify it, but nowadays we see conflicting priorities. The number of vendors, the number of partners in the market is exactly the same as last year. The number of dollars to be spent is less. So there is conflicting priorities within these companies. And we need to be able to have a very clear calculation and very clear correlation between the business metrics and the use cases. We can also help you to position it internally, right, and build the right arguments. And of course, apply industry playbooks and best practices, bringing valuable expertise from your industry, things that have been working already for other customers to your specific business. Speaking of best practices, let's have a look into some exciting customer stories here as well, because it should not just be theory. Kempf is a great example of a do-it-yourself specialist. Kempf unlocked a lot of growth, has seen more than 300% growth in their product portfolio. Sales grew by over 150%, and they're managing more than 28 shops now centrally, which helps them to drive efficiency. A great customer from India, one of the largest software and hardware distributors in the market, Reddington, is on a 1 billion plus run rate, has seen sales growing more than 150% year over year and transacts at peak more than 37 million euros every single day. Another great example, lighting specialist SLV increased customer loyalty. They have seen more than 50% year-over-year growth, and they went live in just 4 months. A great example from focus on time to first transaction. Sonepar Swiss, another champion, is now at almost 80% of the total revenues being transacted through digital channels, and they do have more than 250,000 products in their catalog. In the US, B2B leaders aim to become more efficient as well. Companies like Antilia Scientific, who acquire brands and through acquisitions have built many, many sites on one platform, where Spryker allows them to unify the commerce infrastructure and reduce the cost that they have to operate this infrastructure significantly. LabCorp, another great example from the US, with their most recent launch and the goal to digitalize the order process between LabCorp as a company and their labs, leading to significantly reduced manual labor and increased customer satisfaction. And another champion who will also be presenting today as Divers is launching a matchmaking marketplace in the car and automotive industry for software. Great example of how to connect your ecosystem for growth. I could go on and on and on. More customers have done amazing things with their platform. But just as a reminder, today's objective is really about how to deliver tangible value that you can put and bring back into your organization. So every session we have today is focused on showcasing this potential for you. We try to make it as practitioner-oriented as we can. We believe we are the only platform that can help you turn volatility into value. And here's why. There are great scalable alternatives out there, no question, but they would lack the ability to execute on efficiency-related use case versus standard e-commerce use cases. There are other fantastic examples for composable platforms, but with a lack of flexibility to adapt to your business needs fast. Simple use cases can be launched in record speed on other platforms too. But what happens if your case is more sophisticated and more complex? At Spryker, we bring together all these requirements in one platform, and our ecosystem of partners helps you to turn volatility into value. We provide you with the sophisticated platform which competes on time to first transaction without breaking the bank. And this is exactly how we are being recognized by all major analysts. From being named a leader by IDC, to a strong performer for B2B and B2C commerce by Forrester, and of course, visionary by Gartner, third year in a row. And again, as every year, I really urge you to have a deeper look into the actual write-ups and not just into the waves and quadrants, because what you will find there is what these companies are best positioned for, right? The complexity of the use case, rapid time to value, giving you the ability to turn volatility into value fast, right, by having the right tools in hand and the right ecosystem in hand. And this is why we are very happy that Gartner sees us as visionary. And speaking about Gartner, they also do provide a critical capability report, which is a more detailed write-up about the capabilities they highlight for companies. And we are scoring best in class for B2B commerce, B2C, composable, and complex business models. Now, let me sum up some of the best practices and takeaways for your business. Number one, think beyond growth. Commerce is much, much broader than just bringing more products online and just launching the next country or the next brand. There are efficiency and cost optimization related use cases, something which will be significantly easier for you to go back with in your organizations and position it internally. You can find ways of how to reduce cost of sale, how to improve your logistics network, how to make sure that you reach more customers or you keep customers in a better way. Involve your CFO early. Yes, this is hard, But eventually, and I can just speak from our own experience at the moment, we are seeing more CFOs being part of every conversation than ever before. Again, money is not free any longer. Companies have to pitch internally for a very limited pool of resources. The approval thresholds have gone significantly up. You see many more people being involved. So the earlier you involve people who will pay attention, the higher the chances for you to get the budget. Again, define business KPIs. Set very clear business objectives over generic technical arguments. Value and business objective is not scalability. I want to build a more scalable platform. I want to modernize my architecture. Right? You ask about what's the actual business objective of this entire project? Flexibility. This is not a measurable business outcome. So you need to be much, much clearer. In fact, crystal clear about what the actual business metric is that you want to drive. If you can't connect the dots, if you can't explain why doing A leads to B, chances are very low that you will get support in such a volatile market environment. And this one I like a lot because in the first year, and again, we are celebrating the 10th years anniversary, so I remember Alex and myself in the first year sitting with customers and telling them, and back then, by the way, the market was very different as we have seen, right? We saw the rise of online pure play companies. These companies were disrupting traditional businesses, furniture, fashion, and many other industries. So, and what they were doing extremely well, they were super agile, they were launching businesses, everything from the IT infrastructure to setting up, purchasing departments and marketing, everything in light speed. And we were sitting with these companies and saying, hey, you actually need to launch within a 100-day window. If it takes you longer, if your project takes 12, 18, 24 months, this is not going to go anywhere. And now this is more important than ever before. Again, remember, the market is so volatile. Your playbooks do not last for long. Very often, people change, departments change. You can lose funding, you can lose support. So if you can't get your first use case, ideally your efficiency and cost-related use case live in 100 days, prove value, and then go back and then get the next round of funding internally to continue scaling your project, chances are very low that this will be successful.